Simply Math.
Welcome to Simply Math. We're going to be covering dividing by zero with 6 different methods. So first we're going to divide by the grouping method. So dividing is putting a number into groups of a certain size and counting how many groups it takes to fully split up the quantity. For example, if you have 8 right here in dots divided by 2, you would make groups of 2 and see how many it takes to get down to 0. So first let's make a group of 2. And now let's cancel out 2 dots from the overall group of 8. Now let's make another group. And again, take another 2 dots and cross them out. Now let's do it again. Draw 2 more dots in and take them out from the total. And now one last time and cross them out again, of course. And you'll see that we have 0 left and it took us 4 groups. And so we say that 8 divided by 2 is 4. And now let's try this with 1 divided by 0. So let's get our 1 dot and put it into groups of 0. As you can see, there's nothing to cross out. So let's just keep going. Make another group of 0, another group, and another group. And as we can see, we're going on and on and on, but we're not getting anywhere. And so you may think that this is infinite, but that's not actually true, as even then we still have a dot left. And so we say that 1 divided by 0 is undefined. And that gets the check of approval. Now let's move on to another method. The repeated subtraction method. First, we have 12 and we're going to divide it by 3. And so we're going to get 12 and repeatedly subtract 3, starting off with 12 minus 3, which is equal to 9. Then 9 minus 3 is equal to 6. Then 6 minus 3 is equal to 3. And finally, 3 minus 3 is equal to 0. And we count up how many times we subtracted, and we end up with 4. And so we say that 12 divided by 3 is equal to 4. Now let's try with 1 divided by 0. So we get 1 and subtract 0 and end up with 1. We subtract 0 again and still end up with 1. This is confusing, but let's do it again. 1 minus 0 is still equal to 1. And we could do this on and on and on, and we're not ending up anywhere. We'll still have 1. And so let's figure out what the quotient is. Is it infinity? No, because we still have 1 at the end and we haven't divided. Therefore, 1 divided by 0 is not infinity. And so we say that 1 divided by 0 is undefined. And that gets the check of approval. Now let's move on to another method. This time we're going to do the multiplication method. So suppose 1 divided by 0 is equal to a number called x. If we multiply both sides of the equation by 0 and cancel out the zeros on the left side, we're left with that 1 is equal to x times 0. But we already know that anything times 0 must be equal to 0. And if we rewrite the equation, 1 is equal to x times 0, but x times 0 is equal to 0, we're saying 1 is equal to 0. But that's clearly wrong. And so we say that 1 divided by 0 is undefined. And that gets the check of approval. Now we're going to approach 0. So first, 1 divided by 1. Well, this is equal to 1. Now 1 divided by 0.1. This is equal to 10. Now 1 divided by 0.01. This is equal to 100. Now 1 divided by 1,000. Well, this is equal to 1,000. And 1 divided by 1 millionth. Well, this is equal to a million. And so what happens when you do 1 divided by 0? Well, we can see a trend that as the denominator gets smaller, the quotient gets bigger. And so, does this mean that 1 divided by 0 is infinity? No, because although we're approaching 0 in the denominator and approaching infinity in the quotient, we're not equaling 0 in the denominator and equaling infinity in the quotient. And because they're not the same, 1 divided by 0 is said to be undefined. And that gets the check of approval. Now we're going to show 1 over 0 using the rational graph. So first, let's write down the equation of the graph, y is equal to 1 over x. And now let's draw the line of the graph in the first quadrant, and then the line of the graph in the third quadrant. And so in the first quadrant, we can see that as x is getting closer to 0, and so from right to left, y is getting closer to infinity. But in the third quadrant, as x approaches 0, so from left to right, y is getting closer to negative infinity. And so, are we saying that 1 over 0 is both in infinity and negative infinity? Well, that cannot be true. And so we say that 1 divided by 0 is undefined. And that gets the check of approval. Now we're going to disprove that 1 over 0 is infinity using algebra. So first let's suppose that 1 over 0 is equal to infinity. If we multiply both sides of the equation by 0 and cancel out the zeros on the left side, we're left with that 1 is the product of infinity and 0. And now we all know that 1 plus 1 is equal to 2. And so we can say that 0 times infinity, which is equal to 1, plus 0 times infinity, which is again equal to 1, must sum up to be equal to 2. But now we can rewrite this as 0 plus 0 times infinity is equal to 2. And 0 plus 0 is 0, and so we can rewrite this as 0 times infinity is equal to 2. But we already know that 0 times infinity is equal to 1. And so if we simplify this down, are we saying that 1 and 2 are equal? No way. And so 1 over 0 is not equal to infinity. And that gets the check of approval. Now that you've seen all 6 methods on why 1 over 0 is undefined, which one was your favorite? Comment down below.